Alex Ansary here with a brief update for the UNN Newsroom. It's February 1st, 2012. Right now, a third U.S. aircraft carrier is on its way to Iran. Never before has the U.S. dispatched a total of 3 aircraft carrier groups to the Persian Gulf. They've always topped out at 2. Naval Today reports that the carrier group based in Norfolk, Virginia, is stocked with a guided missile cruiser and 3 guided missile destroyers. The USS Abraham Lincoln has already entered the Persian Gulf via the Strait of Hormuz on January 22nd. It's being escorted by a guided missile cruiser and 2 destroyers, 1 British warship and 1 French warship. Never before has the U.S., French, Navy and the British all been in the same waters at the same time, although they all have permanent naval bases in the region. Meanwhile, another U.S. Navy carrier strike group, headed by USS Carl Vinson, is stationed east of the Strait of Hormuz near the southwest coast of Iran. Now, in the next report, the Baltic News Network is reporting that Iran threatens to cut off oil supply right now, and these warnings were given after the European Union's decision to move forward with their sanctions against Tehran. We're seeing more vocal opposition to U.S. imperialism. In fact, we're seeing more editorials and more people state their belief that the world might be safer from tyranny if we see a Chinese-Russian alliance. According to this Russian paper, The People's Daily, U.S. actions make China-Russia alliance appealing. They write that as U.S. aircraft carrier groups gather in the Arabian Sea, a showdown between Iran and the West is rumbling on. And if war erupts, of course, it will be damaging to not only U.S. national security, but national security of China and Russia as well. Going back to the article, such a demonstration of armed might makes powers like Russia and China increasingly nervous. By stirring up other powers' sense of insecurity, the U.S. is actually undermining its own interests. Its security paranoia instills many uncertainties in the global dynamics and into the U.S. itself. If the West slides into a war with Iran, the damages will not be any lower than the potential threat of Iran's nuclear power. The article goes on to write, perhaps the U.S. is used to resorting to war to solve geopolitical problems, but many worry that such a mentality will sooner or later lead to a U.S. clash with Russia and China. If the U.S. continues to impose its own will and even forces Russia and China into taking action, global dynamics may go back to chaos over which the U.S. will have little control. History shows that any power having an inflated ego, and we're seeing just a little bit of that, usually ends badly. Now, the BBC reported just a month ago, Hu Jintao tells Chinese Navy, prepare for warfare. Mr. Hu told a meeting of military officials that the Navy should accelerate its transformation and modernization and make extended preparations for warfare. So if the West slides into a war with Iran, China, or Russia, this would be suicide for our own national interests. In the next video, and this is what we're seeing coming from China. Let's roll that clip.
We did see a closer collaboration and big proposals put on the table between group members. Do you think it's possible that the SCO could become the economic mover and shaker of the world?
I hope so, and I believe so. Now, I believe the world is at the crossroad, historic crossroad, or some may say the world is at the brink of either being subdued or overcoming the U.S. NATO military intervention in Libya, now moving into possibly Syria, or even to Iran. If Russia, China, or these SCO, the alliance are weak, so that not enough to stop the U.S.-led NATO military aggression in North African region. So I hope so. The SCO, Russia, China, Russia leading this new global movement to balance the power in the world so that they can build a new world order where no more unilateral, aggressive, or even colonial methodology being put into a sovereign nation such as Libya.
Political scientist Dr. Kiyul Chung, live from Beijing. Thanks very much.
So while these tensions continue to erupt, tensions between the West and Russia are also escalating. The U.S. missile defense shield that the United States would like to put in places like the Czech Republic and Poland is making Russia continuously nervous. So in response, like a game of chess, really like some sort of a theater itself, we're seeing Russia respond likewise. Go ahead and roll this clip from Fox News.
Taking into account the direct links between strategic, offensive, and defensive weapons, the circumstances could arise in which we had grounds to pull out of the START treaty.
Now, interesting, because White House spokesman Tommy Vitor just a moment ago sent out this statement insisting, quote, in multiple channels, we have explained to Russian officials that the missile defense systems planned for deployment in Europe do not and cannot threaten Russia's strategic deterrent. Its implementation is going well, and we see no basis for threats to withdraw from it. We will not in any way limit or change our deployment plans in Europe. So you can see the White House trying to stand firm on this, but at the same time try to be flexible and say, look, we're working with Russia, we're going to work these things out. The bottom line in the context here is that President Medvedev will be leaving the stage in a few months, stepping down as president, giving way to former President Vladimir Putin, who's been a hardliner on this issue against the U.S. So this might just be a lot of saber rattling and rhetoric, but in the end might amount to not very much.
That's all for this brief UNN Newsroom update. For the UNN Newsroom, I'm Alex Ansary. Thank you for watching.